Veritas Aquitus by Bones Boy 15, Chapter 7, Son Goku finds a penny. So, it was nice of you to invite us to come with, but festivals aren't my scene, Kurama said dryly as he and his teammates followed Team Ruby through the city of Vale. He was content to stay at Beacon for their Friday off, but Naruto had, for some reason, immediately accepted the invitation to come along. He was almost eager to do so when they were asked. Naruto refused to tell his team why that was, and the grin on his face left nothing but the feeling of dread in his team's stomachs. Figure that you would say that, Otsutsuki, White said with a scoff. She gained a small smile as she walked through the streets. This is no ordinary festival, though. This is the Vital Festival, the festival where hunters from all over the Four Kingdoms gather together to celebrate different cultures through dances, parades, and a tournament. Sounds like a good time. What do you think? Yang asked Naruto, who was far too interested in something on his scroll. She arched her brow when he didn't respond. Whisker boy, I asked you a question. Hello? Naruto snickered and rapidly wrote something back with his thumbs. Yang's eyes twitched as her normally responsive friend ignored her. She leaned over to get a look at what he was reading, only for Naruto to collapse his scroll before she could make any words out. Sorry, just checking the weather, he said with a smile. What was your question, Yang? I asked you how big you were when you were all hot and bothered, Yang said with a smirk on her face. The other members of Team Ruby gawked and stuttered at her comment, while the other three boys gained amused smirks. Yang ignored them and watched Naruto intently. She wanted to catch him off guard in retribution for ignoring her. About 3/4 of a ruler, give or take, Naruto said nonchalantly like he was discussing the weather. Kurama and Sasuke laughed when all of the members of Team Ruby stopped walking and turned bright red. Haku shook his head and smiled at Yang as she gabbed at Naruto's response. I'm fairly certain that Naruto doesn't know the meaning of the word modesty. He sighed slightly. There were many a time over the past few months where Haku stepped out of the shower to find his half-awake blonde friend using the toilet. It wasn't exactly the type of thing one wanted to see after they stepped out of the shower, but as a male, he could understand it. Still, Team Knox was awaiting the answer to their request for a better lock on their bathroom door. Yeah, but he could just be trying to cover for himself when it comes to that topic, Yang quickly said to save face. Her cheeks cooled until unlike her teammates, she glared at Kurama and Sasuke when they smirked at her. We've known the idiot since childhood, Sasuke said as he nodded towards Naruto, who had started to look at his scroll again, and we roomed together for nearly half a year. Trust us when we say that Naruto's not kidding. Plus, Haku's right, Naruto does not care about modesty. Yeah, I'll take a bowl of chicken ramen, Sasuke. Naruto waved off his teammate as he read through his scroll and snickered again before his thumb began to blur across the screen. The group of eight were silent for a moment, save for the tapping of Naruto's thumb and his occasional snickers. Well, yes, but that aside, there was a reason I wanted to come here today, and it was not to discuss Uzumaki's privates. Weiss huffed with red cheeks as she once more started to lead the group down the street. Yang had to grab Naruto by his hood and pull him along since he was buried in his scroll. As they walked, Weiss, Blake, and Ruby started to loose the blood that had rushed to their cheeks, while Yang had a pensive gleam in her eye. So, what's so special about the Vital anyway? Sasuke asked, tired of the quiet. That and Naruto's snickering was grating on his nerves. He needed a distraction before he instigated a fight just to end the annoyance. The festival takes a long time to put together. All of the planning has to be perfect, and all the coordination between the many people is astounding, Weiss explained with a smile on her face. She entwined her hands together and sighed happily. To be in charge of such an important event, can you imagine how much work goes into making it a perfect atmosphere for Vale's guests? It's inspiring. I don't think that is supposed to be inspiring, Kurama said as he pointed at the taped-off dust shop with two men standing outside it. The window was broken and yellow tape formed an X on the interior. The two teams approached the crime scene and Ruby interrupted the arguing officers with the clearing of her voice. What happened here? She asked. Some brat threw a brick through the window. What do you think, kid? The officer taking notes answered rudely. Officer, there's no need for that. We're just concerned citizens, Haku said in Ruby's defense. The pretty one's got a point, the other officer said with a smile. Someone broke in and robbed the place. A strange thing, too. This is the fourth store hit this week, the irate officer said with a grunt, and the lien was still in the register, just like the others. Man, who would need all that dust? The other asked. I don't know. White Fang, maybe? You know what I do know. we don't get paid enough for this. Well, that and the chief will have our heads if we don't break one of these robberies before the festival starts. The two teams took that as their cue to leave while the two officers started to moan and groan about their job. White scowled and crossed their arms. White Fang figures that group of faunists would be behind this. Hey, watch it, Shinny. Kurma warned with a growl. I'm just saying, only that group full of psychopathic criminals would do something so thoughtless and horrible. White said. The White Fang are not a bunch of psychopaths, Blake said with a frown. They're a collection of misguided faunists. They're trying to wipe out all of humanity, Weiss argued with a raised brow. Okay, they're really misguided, Blake said as she crossed her arms. They're not all that bad though, and either way, there's no reason for them to steal a bunch of dust. She's not wrong, Sasuke said. About the White Fang, I mean, a few older members left because of the violent actions that the organization was starting to take. There was a member back in our hometown. He was a nice guy. Really? What happened to him? Weiss asked. Sasuke scowled and Kurama snarled as they looked away. The fourth war killed him, Naruto answered quietly as he pocketed his scroll and slipped his hands in his pockets while he lowered his head. His name was Hiruzen Sarutobi, and he was killed in another fourth war attack 6 years ago. Oh, the air turned tense as the members of Team Ruby tried to think of something to say while Haku put a hand on his partner's shoulder. Naruto gave his partner a grateful smile before he looked up and beamed. Awesome, we're at the docks, Naruto cheered. Yes, wait, why is that awesome for you? Weiss asked. The others joined her in staring curiously at the whiskered blonde. I don't know, Naruto offered weakly as he looked around the docks nervously. I mean, his pocket buzzed again and Kurama snagged the scroll before Naruto could stop him. Kurama held the item over his head and smirked as the slightly shorter teen tried to take it back. I wonder what could be on this that you're trying to keep secret, Kurama asked as his thumb lingered over the button. Damn it, Kurama, give it back. That's an invasion of my privacy, Naruto hissed as he tried to grab his scroll. He was stopped from jumping as Yang looped one of her arms through Naruto's to keep him in place while she smirked at Kurama. Read it, Foxy, Yang said. She wanted to know what distracted her friend from her amusing puns and jokes. Oi, Yang. Apparently there's a new message from Son Goku. Kurama arched a brow and looked at his team leader. He's my pen pal. Now give it. Yang pulled Naruto back as he made a leap for his scroll. Oh no, now I have to know what it says. Kurama. Way ahead of you, Blondie. Kurama smirked as he opened the message. Good news, Menma. Real original there, Naruto. Screw you, Sasuke. I think we dropped anchor, Kurama said as he continued to read the message despite Sasuke's ribbing. I'm going to crawl out of my hiding spot and sneak onto the docks. Hope to meet up with you soon, little dude. You got a close friend by the sounds of it, Naruto. Shut up, Kurama, Naruto hissed with narrowed eyes. He caught his scroll as it was tossed to him and stuck it in his pocket. Almost brotherly, Sasuke said with a smirk. Does Coco have to worry about some mysterious guy stealing her cute little brother away? Naruto looked at him with horror. Don't you dare! Sasuke flicked the scroll open and his smirk widened as the team leader paled. Try me. Who's Coco? Ruby asked Haku under her breath. An older student. She's in my history class and part of Velvet's team, Haku explained. She's taken to Naruto and particularly adopted him as her little brother. Her teammates like to treat him as such. She's very similar to Yang sometimes. Ruby grinned and pointed at Naruto with a smile on her face. Aha! Now you know my pain when you and Yang gang up on me. Is she hot? Yang's question caught her teammates slightly off guard. She shrugged. What? You know how hard it is to avoid someone without knowing what they look like? She's got a point, Kurama said with a shrug. He made an iffy gesture with his hand. Well, I'm not into you apes, so the most I can say is he was cut off when shouts came from a nearby dock ship. The aide looked over as a distant figure ran across the deck of the ship and leaped to the docks despite the yell. Naruto's eyes went wide and he broke free from Yang's grip with a wide smile on his face as he ran towards the dock, knocking the two policemen to the ground in heat of progress. Sorry, Haku apologized to the two officers as he, Kurama, Sasuke, and Team Ruby chased after the blonde. They followed Naruto to the dock, where he stopped and stared at the teen that hung by his tail from a light post. You know, good stowaway, A man on the ship yelled angrily, "Hey, a no good stowaway would have gotten caught. I'm a great stowaway." The blonde faunus argued as he flipped up and sat on the light post while he peeled and ate a banana. He paused in his second bite as he caught sight of the group and his eyes widened. The stowaway swallowed his bite before he grinned and jumped from the light post to land in front of the Beacon students. He had blonde hair just as messy as Naruto's own, despite the fact it was a lighter shade. His skin was similarly tanned, and they both shared a similar blue eyes, though Naruto's were darker. The faunus was dressed in an open white shirt that revealed his toned physique, red gloves, and jeans that were rolled up to his knees, while sneakers covered his feet. The faunus' tail swung up happily like a monkey's as he looked Naruto over. Sun-kissed hair, whiskered cheeks, orange all over. "My bro, is that you?" he asked eagerly. "Monkey tail, red gloves, and a chain on the right side of your pants." "Goku!" Naruto greeted happily as he threw his fist forward. "Menma!" Goku grinned and copied the action. Their knuckles collided and the two burst into even wider grins. "Son Goku, Son Wukong," Goku introduced himself. "Naruto Uzumaki, I can't believe you actually made it all the way to fail." Naruto greeted the Faunus teen happily as they broke off their fist bump. Sun Wukong slipped his arm over Naruto's shoulders and ran his other hand through his hair. "Hey man, when you're as slick as me, anything is possible." "Oh, there's more than two," Sasuke mumbled. Kurama actively whimpered and Haku sighed. Yang, however, looked between the two blonde boys with a grin on her face. "Sorry, handsome, but that offer for a threesome with me and Whisker Boy has been redacted." She tapped her chin playfully. "Now, how to get them to make me a yang sandwich?" "I think I'm going to hurl," Ruby groaned. "I was talking about making me food." "Man, Rubes, your mind has fallen deep into that gutter, hasn't it?" Yang teased. She grinned widely when Ruby glared at her. Weiss and Blake sighed, but both had small smiles on their faces at the sisters' byplay. "I have got to show you the good stuff. The ramen shops, the shops that haven't been robbed anyway. The secret you-know-what stocky store," Naruto said as he started to lead the teen past the group. "Am I all in good time, man? I'm in no rush. I'm just glad to be here, stocked even." Sun looked over the gathered group and winked at Blake before he returned his attention to Naruto. "But maybe some introductions are in order first, huh?" Naruto looked from Sun to his friends and back. A sheepish grin spread across his face while he scratched the back of his head. Right, sorry," he apologized. Naruto turned to the two teams and held a hand out to Sun. "Guys, this is my pen pal and long-distance friend since I was 10 years old, Sun Wukong." Sun waved at the group and patted Naruto's shoulder. "Sorry if this was a surprise for you all, but I'm technically not supposed to be here yet. Hence why Naruto kept it secret," Haku said with a sigh. He gave his partner a bemused smile. "Still, I'm surprised that you haven't mentioned your pen pal sooner." "Oh, he's been busy with missions with his team, so we haven't been able to talk since, last year?" Naruto asked. Sun nodded. "That sounds about right. Hey, you!" The group of teens looked back at the cops as the cops started to walk towards them. "Oh, the fuzz!" Sun looked around nervously. Naruto pushed Sun in front of him and they fled from the officers. They looked over his shoulders at the others. "Split up and cheese it!" Team Ruby took his words to heart and split down the other way. Haku stepped into a mirror and vanished. The cops ran past Kurama and Sasuke without acknowledging them. The two partners waited for a moment before they looked at each other. "Wanna go hit up the arcade?" Sasuke asked. Kurama shrugged and slipped his hands into his pockets. "Sure, why not?" "Wow, they really don't even look up," Sun said in surprise as he and Naruto relaxed on the ledge of a building. They watched the alleyway they had dug into as the two officers ran right past the fire escape they climbed. "I told you so." Naruto grinned and looked up as Haku stepped out of a mirror beside him. "Hey Haku, Sun Wukong, son, this is my assigned partner, Haku Yuki." Sun tilted his head before he beamed and pointed at the newcomer on the roof. "Oh yeah, you're the really polite girly boy that can walk through teleporting mirrors." Haku sighed and nodded with a small smile. "Well, Naruto explained it almost correctly, so I can't fault you. A pleasure to meet you, son." "Man, you really are super polite." Sun blinked with a wry grin on his face. He looked at his fellow blonde. "So, how would you prank him?" Let my other teammates who thought he was a girl walk in on him while he was showering." "Nice." Haku sighed into his hand as he palmed his face. "What have I walked into?" Sun hopped to his feet and dusted off his pants. "Right then, can we go find the cute girls now?" He grinned at Naruto. I want to learn more about the hottie that was ogling us. So what? You two dating? Nah, Yang and I are just joking around most of the time, Naruto said as he got to his feet and interlaced his hands behind his head. Then she's open season, Sun asked with a grin. Naruto gave Sun a small smile. I guess so, but old friend or not, if you do hook up with her and hurt her the line, Naruto reached out and punched the smokestack. A web of cracks spread up the brick before it crumbled into dust. Haku stared at the feat of strength while Sun laughed nervously and his tail tucked between his legs. Message received, man. Message received. You should have seen what he did to a student that was blackmailing our male friend. Haku smiled lightly at the memory. The student's weapon was crushed and he was knocked out in a single punch. He's still in the medical ward of Beacon recovering, I think. Yikes. Sun blinked and looked back at Naruto. You are a scary dude. You know that? That's not including the pranks I've done over the years, Naruto added. A Cheshire grin spread across his face. I've yet to be caught for the real big ones. I repeat, you're a scary dude. This would be a lot easier if Kurama was with us, Naruto said as he peered down from the rooftop of the building he was on. This city is almost too big. They could be anywhere by now. We could try to contact them with our scrolls, Haku said dryly, only to be ignored. He was seated and using his looking glass to see if he could pinpoint either Team Ruby or Kurama and Sasuke under Naruto's instructions. Sun rubbed his chin and then snapped his fingers. Oh, is Kurama the fox-tailed faunus? The dude in the red? Right, Naruto nodded with a grin. He's the one that you pranked with a water gun, a pencil, and rubber duckies, right? Yep, he kicked my ass hard for that one. Heck, I think that's the reason I managed to activate my semblance for the first time. I want to know so badly what you're talking about, but I think for sanity's sake, it's better if I don't ask, Haku said. They're not on the main street. Sun chuckled as he plopped down next to the feminine boy. You're a lot like my buddy Neptune, you know, the straight man of the group. You imply that you're not straight, Naruto asked out of sheer curiosity. Little dude, life is worth living to the fullest, Sun said with a sagely nod. We only got one shot to do with it what we will, so why not go for all we want, girls, guys, human, or faunus? I don't care. Sun just wants to bring the fun. Wise words, my friend, Naruto nodded. You only live once, YOLO. YOLO. Sun rubbed his chin again and his hips spread into another smile. YOLO. I like that. It's got a nice ring to it. Yeah, but if it becomes a phrase, people will use it as an excuse to do stupid things, Naruto said as he sat down beside his pen pal. Isn't that the purpose of it, though? His son asked him. Naruto shook his head. No, I agree that you should live life to the fullest, but you should not risk your life trying to perform stupid actions. YOLO should be like a suggestion. Ah, you mean like a school rules? Exactly. Haku sighed. I fear for the future if either of you become teachers or procreate. Man, Sasuke and Kurama made you so mean, Naruto said with a pout while Sun laughed at the look on his face. Found them. Haku's eyes blinked a few times before he stood up and pointed to the north. Team Ruby is 4 blocks that way on Mount Eve. Mount Ave. Cool. Then let's go. I'm getting sick of sitting around. It's making me all philosophical and stuff, Sun said and shuddered at the thought. He rubbed his chin. But how to make this interesting? You two up for a race? Sure. Ready, set, go! Naruto jumped across the street and landed on the other building's roof. He turned and grinned at Sun and Haku while he flashed them the victory sign. Hey, you little rat! That's cheating! Sun scowled before he followed after the shorty blonde. Haku watched the faunus and his partner start to race across the rooftops and rubbed his forehead with his hand. How did I not see that coming? With a sigh, Haku made a mirror behind himself and stepped into it. He might as well throw both off guard by beating them in the race. They never set any ground rules, so Haku would abuse it and hold the victory over his leader's head forever. Not cool, man. Not cool. Sun sucked beside Naruto, both of them curled up on the roof of the building and drawing circles with their fingers. Haku so mean, cheating like that, Naruto agreed with a sniffle. Haku rolled his eyes. Grow up, Naruto. Neither of you set ground rules, so why wouldn't I abuse my semblance? Cheater, the two blondes accused sorely. I prefer to see it as thinking outside the box, Haku said. He looked down and arched a brow. It seems that Ruby has made a new friend. New friend? Naruto asked as he perked up. Is she cute? Sun asked at the same time. Haku hummed. Can't really tell from this far up. Then let's go say hello. Naruto explained before he hopped over the edge of the roof. Look out below! He really is the twin brother I never had, Sun said with a chuckle before he did a swan dive. Banzai! Haku's eyes twitched and pinched the bridge of his nose. 1 week he decides to be a super smart and tactical, and the next it's like he's a kid on a sugar rush. Fog Academy never prepared you for this kind of teammate. It has to be something in the ramen. It just has to be. He stepped back into a mirror and walked out to stand next to Weiss. She jumped when she realized he was there. Ah, geez, Haku, you need to say something when you do that. Weiss glared at the androgynous boy. Sorry, Weiss. Haku smiled at the girl. He then looked up as Naruto landed beside him and Sun flipping at the last second to land safely. What took you two so long? Dude, so not funny, Sun mumbled as he crossed his arms and potted at the smiling feminine boy. Naruto shook his head before he looked at the other new addition to the small group. She was a girl about Ruby's height, but had a few inches on his fellow team leader. Her hair was curly and chin length, and most importantly, an awesome shade of orange. Her eyes were green, and freckles were dusted across her nose and cheeks. In her awesome orange hair was a pink bow, and across her neck was an oddly futuristic looking black and neon green collar. It was odd because he clashed with the old fashioned beige clothes that the girl wore. Then again, the collar matched her stockings, so maybe it was fine. Naruto wasn't really into fashion. He liked wearing orange, which was noted to be a fashion no-no. So, Ruby, who's the new girl? Naruto asked while he let his hands interlace behind his head. Someone Weiss right into, Ruby said. She ignored the outraged cry that her partner made. Naruto, this is, Penny. Naruto grinned at the girl. Nice to meet you. Salutations. Penny greeted back with a smile on her face. Haku stared at the girl before he leaned over to Sun. Do you notice anything off about her? Yeah, I know. Sun nodded in agreement. That collar looks way out of place. She needs some bling or something, and to show a bit of skin like the Schnee girl or Blondie there. Haku clapped his hand to his face, while Weiss flushed bright red and glared at the faunus. Yang grinned at her fellow blonde and put a hand on her hip while she flipped her hair. Well, if you got it, you got to flaunt it, she said. Sun laughed and gestured to his lack of shirt. I totally agree. If we're gonna die on a job, might as well do it looking amazing or with a smile on your face, Naruto said with a nod. There are 3 of them, Ruby mumbled with horror. She swallowed and rubbed her arms. That's not going to believe this. Gotta enjoy what you do. Yang agreed before she frowned at her whiskered friend. So, where did you run off to? Sun arched a brow and looked at his laid-back companion. I thought you two weren't dating, or not, Naruto said as he gave the fondest boy a confused look. Didn't I already explain that? Yeah, but she totally just asked the you're in trouble and you're not getting any until I say so voice, Sun said. Naruto stared at him for a moment, which made Sun narrow his eyes. You've had a girlfriend before, right? Naruto crossed his arms. Yeah. Not according to Sasuke and Kurama, you haven't, Haku drawled. Yang snickered and Blake pinched the bridge of her nose. You're not allowed to talk, cheater. Naruto glared at his partner, who rolled his eyes in response. Sun munched on an apple he pulled from somewhere. And you have had sex, right? Where did you get that apple? Weiss asked, but scowled when she was ignored. Dude, Naruto said, mock offended. I told you about that time I took that fine woman working at the Kon ramen shop. Sun rubbed his chin and took a bite from his apple. He slowly started to nod his head. Right, that girl without the gag reflex. Not listening, Ruby declared as she pulled her hood over her head and covered her ears. Yang arched a brow at Naruto. No gag reflex? She asked. The whiskered blonde winked back at her before he looked back at his fondest friend. Exactly. Thanks for those tips, by the way, Naruto said with a nod. Sun tossed his finished apple over his shoulder and smirked. Little dude, it's what I'm here for, to spread my message of fun and free living across the world. No, but seriously, where did you get that apple? Weiss asked again with a scowl. Stole it, so you've had a girlfriend? Debatable. Haku, shut up. Naruto glared at his partner. You stole it. Weiss glared at the blonde faunus. Sun arched a brow. Yeah, so what? Weiss felt her eyes twitch. You know good, rapscallion. I should turn you into the authorities. Perhaps you have some information about the White Fang. Wow, so quick to jump on that boat, aren't you? Sun asked, smiling in amusement. And you snuck onto a ship? More evidence of your criminal connections? Weiss scowled at the fondest boy. I'm going to take you into the police to see how far your connections go. I'm certain with enough digging we'll discover something on the evil White Fang. For the last time, the White Fang aren't evil.
Blake snapped at the Schnee Harris. They are crazy though. Sun crossed his arms and nodded sagely. He arched a brow when Blake glared at him. What'd I say? Anyway, yes, I have had a girlfriend. Not to repeat it so that he could get back on topic. Sun nodded and looked back at his younger friend. You've had a girlfriend and you've had sex, but have you had sex with a girlfriend? Your silence speaks volumes. Fuck you, Haku. I'd pay to see it. Yang hooted and nudged Blake. Am I right? Blake glared at her. I am not in the mood. Got it. I do not understand. Why would you pay to see him fuck him? Penny asked, with a confused smile as she pointed from Naruto to Haku, the group save for Ruby, who was still in her own little world, thanks to her hands over her ears and her humming, looked at her. It's because you are sexually aroused by homosexual intercourse between two attractive males. Why would that arouse you? Right? Sana turned around to Naruto. That was not a question he wanted to touch on, considering the odd way the girl had phrased it. That tone blonde there, used is usually reserved for a sexually attractive partner. Naruto blinked, looked at Yang, who winked at him, and then looked back at Sun. So, what does that mean? Haku dropped his face into his hands and let out a groan. He can construct a sadistic and prepared intimidation ambush, psychologically analyze people with a glance, but can't see when he and Yang have chemistry. My partner is so strange. Nope, I've interfered far too much already. Sun crossed his arms and began to walk away. He stopped and turned back with a grin on his face. I'm gonna go check out some of the food around town and see if I can't find a place to stay. Meet up tomorrow? Sure, Naruto nodded with a grin on his face. I can show you that place for the things that shan't be named. Sun grinned and gave Naruto a thumbs up. He then jumped up to the roof of a nearby building and ran off, Naruto and Penny waving him off. Farewell, new acquaintance. I can't wait until we face one another in the tournament. Penny smiled as she waved. Weiss, Blake, Yang, Haku, and Naruto turned to face Penny. It was Weiss who broke the ice. You're participating in the Vital Festival tournament? Penny turned to her and beamed. Yes, I'm combat ready. She's adorable. Naruto beamed as he looked at the girl. Indeed, Coco would love her. Naruto glowered at his partner. Why must you bring her up? Because she's the only one that can keep you in check aside from this Kakashi fellow I keep hearing about in passing. Haku returned dryly. Psst, Kakashi wishes he could keep me in check. Naruto scoffed as he crossed his arms. Wait, that degenerate is participating as well? How do you know that? Weiss asked Penny with the narrowed eyes. Penny smiled at her. I have read and memorized the list of participants from all schools in the tournament 8,327 times. Sun Wukong is a talented fighter from Mr. Naruto finished with a grin. He, unlike the others, was not fazed by Penny's odd breeding habits. So I can assume you've been watching his videos? Penny turned to him and nodded. I've been analyzing his fighting style, yes. Videos? Yang asked with an arched brow. Quick little informational videos on impromptu fighting. Naruto shrugged. Mostly him beating the tar out of his classmates. I may have to look at some of those videos, Yang mused. Watch those abs move. How did he get those anyway? He's got a special intense workout he's developed since he was young. Naruto nodded as he lifted his shirt to reveal his defined abdomens, which were similar to Sun's. I've been using Sun's workout since I was 14. It's made me very flexible. Yang grinned at him. Really now? Oh, like you wouldn't believe, Yang. Naruto grinned back. Flirt later. Weiss cut between the two blondes, and she grabbed Penny's shoulders. Does he have any connections to the White Fang? Blake snapped, her eyes open and glared at Weiss. Why are you so intent on making him out to be a bad guy? Because he stole some apples, snuck onto a ship, and who knows what else? Weiss countered as she turned and looked at the raven-haired girl. Face the facts, Blake. That fondness is criminal. Oi, that's my friend you're talking about, Sneeze, Naruto said with a frown. And that makes you an accomplice, Weiss argued. So Naruto countered with an arched brow. He crossed his arms. Sun's a good guy. He's my friend. So he steals apples and sneaks on boats. So what? I've done similar stuff. That's not a good thing. Weiss glared at him. She released Penny and turned to fully face Naruto. You should be ashamed of yourself, abusing your training in such a manner. Ruby, hearing her partner's angry voice, dropped her hands from her ears and looked around. What I miss? Ruby asked her sister. Yang, without removing her eyes from the arguing trio, shushed her. This is getting good. Just watch. I'll fill you in later. Am I? Naruto asked with an arched brow. Huntsmen and huntresses are occasionally required to do unsavory things to stop criminals, Weiss. Sun may steal, but that doesn't make him just as bad as the criminals of the White Fang. The White Fang aren't bad, Blake said with a scowl as she frowned at Naruto. They're not good either, Naruto argued. He frowned at the girl he secretly knew to be a Faunus. Their actions make them no better than the Fourth War. They want to get equality through fear, but that's not equality. That's just turning the tables. They've become what they hate, and they don't even realize it. Blake frowned at him. They're misguided, not evil. I never said they were evil. I said that Sun was not as bad as the members of the White Fang who plan attacks that will result in loss of life. Sun called them crazy, and I don't believe that's right either. Naruto continued. The members of the White Fang are angry and filled with bloodlust. Whether it's right or not, it's up for debate. Not all of them are like that. Some just want equality for Vanis, even if they happen to act drastically. Why are you so adamant about defending them? Weiss asked with a frown. Why are you so intent on making them out to be evil? Blake shot back. Penny tilted her head. Are they friends? Yes, Ruby said. She grimaced as the two girls glared at one another. I think. If they are friends, why are they arguing? Penny asked. I thought the friends were honest and trusted each other. I would wish for my friends to agree with me. I would not want to argue with them. Friends argue all the time, Haku interjected. He smiled at Penny when she looked at him. To have a different opinion is to be sentient, and one truth that most, if not all, agree on is that freedom is the right to all sentient beings. However, this subject is far more complicated for them, Naruto added. He gestured to Weiss as the two girls resumed their increasingly loud argument. Weiss's family has not had good relationships or interactions with any members of the White Fang, hence her heavy bias. Blake is a strong supporter of the Faunus rights and wants to see a world where humans and Faunus are equal. She also has given the White Fang the benefit of the doubt and hopes they will return to their old ways. How do you know that? Yang asked. Nato shrugged. We've had some nice conversations when working on projects for Professor Ooblik. Not going to lie, aside from Professor O, he's my favorite teach. Isn't he like hopped up on coffee 24/7? Ruby asked. Exactly. It's funny. Naruto beamed. Penny had an inquisitive frown on her face. So, they argue over different opinions, but they are still friends? Yes, Haku said. Weiss and Blake have strong personalities that would keep them apart from each other initially, if not for their team placement. However, time and interactions has made them close. This one argument will not separate. Maybe we were sick of being pushed around. I think. Haku blinked surprised at Blake's outburst. Naruto rolled his eyes and interlaced his hands behind his head. They'll be fine. Wow, I didn't know Blake had a speed semblance like you, Ruby. She She's Wei stuttered as she stared in shock at the bow in her hand. She was a faunus. Yang and Ruby were also surprised by this, apparently, since their words were soft and their eyes were wide. Penny tilted her head. You weren't aware? To be fair, humans aren't that smart, Naruto said with a smile. People see what they want to see. Heck, I wouldn't have known Belle was a faunus if Kurama hadn't told me when we first met. You knew. The three girls on Team Ruby that were still present snapped their heads to Naruto. Haku tilted his head. I figured it out after she had tuna sandwiches 3 days in a row. And Kurama confirmed it when you asked. That too. Why didn't you tell us? Weiss demanded so as she stormed over to the leaders of Team Nox. Naruto arched her brow. Why didn't you tell Ruby that you're the one who ate the last of her chocolate chip cookies and not Yang? That was you! I told you I didn't do it! The two sisters shouted, one in anger and the other in triumph. Weiss glared daggers at Naruto. You read my journal. Yes, I read your diary. Naruto nodded proudly. He grinned at her. I'm flattered you think my whisker marks are cute, by the way. He shrugged and ignored the frosty glare that Weiss gave him. But the reason I and anyone on my team didn't tell you was simply because it wasn't my call. Belle hadn't decided to trust you with that secret yet, and with how you interact with Kurama, could you blame her? Weiss pursed her lips, but continued to glare at Naruto. She huffed and stormed off, a mildly miffed Ruby behind her. Yang's smile fell slightly, and she crossed her arms under her chest. I can't believe she didn't tell us. We all have our secrets to keep, Yang, Haku mused. Yang nodded sadly and walked off after her other two teammates, giving Naruto and Haku a half-hearted goodbye wave. Haku blinked and looked around curiously as he realized something was off. Where did Penny go? She ran off after Belle when I started to talk about Shini's diary, Naruto said nonchalantly, his hands behind his head as he looked up to the corner of a building and gave a small smirk as a golden tail ducked over the edge. He turned and started to walk towards the main street. Come on, Haku, we need to go find Kurama and Sasuke. Did you intentionally let Penny slip slip away when you made up that story about reading Wise's diary? Haku asked as he followed his teammate. Story. Please, Haku, I've read all the girls' diaries. Did you know Nora is actually allergic to dogs? Naruto, why did you read their diaries? Meh, for the hell of it. Kurama wanted dirt, didn't he? Haku drawled. Their fondest friend was a huge gossip and loved to broker information. He truly took to the fox heritage of a cruel trickster well. Those are your words, not mine. Now, come on, let's go find the two jackasses. Knowing them, they're probably at an arcade or something. End of chapter 7.